In this episode of our Z50 Cafe moped, I'm going to start off by apologizing. Things have been a little hectic, judging by the state of the garage. Working on a couple things, some things have changed. Anyway, just want to start out and say I'm sorry. I know it's been a little while, and a lot of stuff that I did on this project up to this point I did not capture on video, so it's going to be a lot of picture slideshows. That being said, let's get into it. The first thing that I had to do was address the issue with the tires. So purchased some new street tires, took the knobbies off, put the street tires on, and if you guys are building your own bikes at home, I cannot stress enough that you need the right tool for the job. I've been changing tires on some of these bikes, ATVs, go-karts, mini bikes, motorcycles, using the tire spoons from Harbor Freight, like I'm sure most of you guys are. Which are these? They seem to work okay for the bigger tires, but for motorcycle tires that they're too thick, can't get in between the bead and the tire, and it just actually makes the job more difficult. So if you're doing it, get you a set of these. These are on Amazon, link in the description. But what used to take me 20-30 minutes of struggling to swap a tire on a motorcycle rim, less than 10 minutes with these. And that was the first time I did it with these, and the more you do it, the quicker you get. So once we had the tires straight, we got back on and started working on the swing arm, which you can see here. We've got our swing arm extended, got our brace going across. We've got a new swing arm bearing kit from Tusk. These are nice, sealed units, pretty good. I also had to transfer the shock studs that were back here on the swing arm because the angle of the shocks was too extreme. And the bike actually was not tall enough, so we moved them forward, took a little tab, ground the back off of the stud from here, and opened up the hole in this tab and welded it on the back. And there we go. I do have some new washers, stainless washers, and acorn nuts coming for that. I ran into some interference issues with the caliper mount and the stud that sticks off the back of the swing arm, but that just took some clearancing. Had to make some spacers to center the wheel up. Got those done. Our shocks are at a much better angle and give us a lot better ratio. Not as soft, more active kind of suspension. And these are extended or compressed as far as they can go. So if we do finish the bike and we're riding it, we notice that it's kind of sagging in the back, I can always raise it up. So we got that done. Swing arm's done, shocks are done, rear wheel's done. So yeah, we've got a lot done, but we're gonna keep going. So what's next is the seat pan storage area for the electronics. I needed to punch some holes in that to bolt to the frame. Went ahead and did that. this is that pan, and there's the holes in it, and that uses a couple holes that are in the frame already. Some stainless hardware through that pan to the frame. We'll hold it nice and tight. Now we need to add our taillight to that pan, and we also need to make some sort of anchor attachment or something for the battery. The battery that we will be using is actually an anti-gravity battery, 12 volt. $40 cold cranking amps, and this thing is tiny. It's so small, in fact, that I can't seem to find it. Here it is. So this is the battery. Very, very low profile, very small, but it packs a punch. Exactly what we're going to need for this bike. We don't need a lot of cold cranking amps, but we do need something that'll fit in a tight package. That'll work. We also have our starting relay, which if you remember, I mentioned before, we'll be using a Moto Gadget M unit. All the relays and fuses and stuff, we don't have to worry about that. This is actually as small or smaller than the fuse box and relay boxes that you see on regular motorcycles. So that's going to save us a lot. It also has provisions for a starter relay up to a certain amperage, but I think we're going to run a separate relay just in case. May change that later on. Everything on this bike is LEDs, so there's hardly any light on it. Now I've got an assortment of push button switches. We've got a universal wiring kit for the M unit, which is a lot more in it than we're going to need. And what else? We got a few other odds and ends, I think. Oh, we also have to wire up our GPS speedometer, and that has, I believe, turn signals and high beam indicators, so we got to wire that up. The bike is a roller now, so we've got to get everything figured out electronic wise in that little pan that goes under the seat. We're just going to figure out the locations for it. We're not going to wire it yet. We want to paint everything first, then we'll wire it, and then we've got to come up with a way to mount our seat. And if you guys have not seen it before or forgot, this is our seat. Welded in some flat bar to go across the seat hoop, and some mounts to bolt the seat to it, and then these brackets here will actually go to, no better word for it, but like studs that come off that tail section of the frame, and that'll drop in, give us a cover for our electronics, and keep it all nice and clean and sealed. And then just a matter of removing 4 bolts, and we can get to everything under it by taking the seat off. All right, so well, let's get into it. Judging from the pictures prior to this, you know that I was breaking down the wiring harness, and I've got it down to what I think is what we need. We got our regulator rectifier. Our stuff is all labeled. This comes out of the stator. AC voltage and out DC 12 volts. our ignition coil or CDI. We've got our ignition pickup from the stator. We've got our line for the coil, the ground, and then our kill switch, all labeled. And then we've got our starter relay, our coil and lead, our brake light, and I've just got a battery down here just hooked up, kind of testing to make sure the starter's good and everything. And then it's the leftovers. I went through and labeled everything based on some diagrams that I found online and some pictures, and cut out what we weren't going to be using. And that's kind of the beauty of the M unit. We don't really need a whole lot of this stuff. The switches are different. I'll have to show you guys those too. But jeez, the M unit cleans everything up quite a bit. So we've got electronic placement pretty much figured out. I've drilled some holes for attachment points and everything. I've checked loosely kind of where the cabling is going to go. I think it's going to work out pretty good. We got our electronics tray pretty much done. Got our taillight mounted to the tray. I got the tabs and everything on the hoop. That's our cafe seat frame hoop. It's a lot to say. Sorry about the camera. It's extremely humid out here today. There we go. And we've got our lugs welded on the frame for that frame hoop. The Z50 frame, or the build, is down to the bare frame. In the background I've got the motor sitting, front end with the wheel assembly, everything, the swing arm, all the electronics, the handlebars, the electronics tray, the seat hoop, everything sitting over there off camera. I think that's as far as we can go in this episode. We got a lot done. I still have a good amount to do, but it's nothing you haven't seen me do before. Gonna cut some tabs off, kind of smooth it out. We have to add one for our ignition coil, and then I'm going to start shooting some paint on this thing. So in the next episode we should be doing final assembly and hopefully a test ride. So that's it for this one, guys. Until next time, get up, get out there, and do it.